Jay here, Stretford, Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. And come on, you know the drill by now. We're in the studio. We're not Old Trafford. We're in the studio, which means it's live. So get involved in the comments and the chat and let us know what you think about all the latest United stories we'll be covering, which include a Ralf Rangnick update, an Erik Ten Hag update, a Paulo Dybala story, a Ruben Neves story, and a few others as well. We'll also have some Ralf Rangnick quotes from last night's epic 1-1 draw with Chelsea. Why does it feel a relief when we draw now? That's how far we fell, innit? How far we done fell, as Bunk said in The Wire. So do get involved in all those and let us know what you think. Let us know as well if you've got any stories. Are you ITK? If you are, give us a shout. And don't forget, as well, to hit like and subscribe to the channel. We want to get to 700,000 subscribers by the end of the season. With your help and support, we can do it. People already in the chat as well. Lewis Cuthbert says, yes, shiny head. I think that's meant to say shiny head. Thank you. Sansanot says, like the JDO. I'll give you that one, just about. Right, should we get straight into it? There's a bit of a breaking story, although it was... Excuse me. It was doing the rounds a little bit last night. There was sort of rumours and murmurs, shall we say, and now it's more or less been confirmed. Laurie Whitwell's just tweeted, Ralf Rangnick to be announced as Austria manager to 2024 today. Press conference in Vienna, means nothing to me, at 11:45 UK time with Austrian sporting director and president. Rangnick, still in UK, will combine with United consultancy roles. So he is going to become the Austria manager for the national team, obviously, and also combine that with his consultancy role. Now, you might look at it and go, well, I want him to be focused on Manchester United. I don't want him to be doing anything with the Austrian national team. But let's face facts. If you're a national team manager, it's not like you're constantly on the training ground, on the training pitch every day. You're constantly on the phone every day. You're scouting every day. You're doing, it's a 20 hours a day job. It's not. We know that international managers, they do have sort of time on their hands. It's almost like you go from club management to international management. It's almost like semi-retirement at times, isn't it? So I don't have a problem with that. If he's going to stay on as a consultant, also as a consultant as well, he's not going to be in Carrington every day. He's not going to be sort of on the training pitch every day. So I don't have an issue with him being an international manager and having his consultancy role. I think his consultancy role is likely to be, 1 or 2 days a week anyway. So it kind of makes sense. He was always going to have another job, I felt. I didn't think this was going to be his only job. Some people may look at it differently. If you do look at it differently or the same, get involved in the chat and the comments and let us know what you think. Is anyone surprised that he's been given this role? And when I ask that question, I'll tell you why. Ralf Rangnick came to Manchester United with a decent reputation for building clubs, for overseeing things. And he was regarded as, a sort of innovator, someone who could go into a club like RB Leipzig or whatever and be very sort of, almost like a puppet master. He could sort of see what's going on, sort out the coaching, sort out the scouting, sort out all that sort of stuff and be very sort of, above everything. His reputation as a manager was decent. I don't think it was great. I don't think he was a manager in terms of his achievements and what he'd done as a manager where people go, he's unbelievable. Hence the reason at 63 years old, he was still at Lokomotiv Moscow. No disrespect to them, but there's a reason for that. He's come to Manchester United, and I think, if anything, as a manager, I actually think his reputation might have taken a bit of a hit. I don't mean in general. I think he comes across very well and that people buy into what he's saying and what he's trying to do. And he's been very honest, which I think is refreshing. We need a bit of that. He's not afraid to call out people, to say it as it is. And we've lacked that a little bit at Manchester United. But I just feel as a manager and as a coach, his record has been very underwhelming. I don't know I can't remember the exact win rate we've got, but it ain't great under him. We've dropped so many points, so many poor performances. And I understand before people start shouting at me. I understand he inherited a mess and he's got a lot of players who don't want to be here, who are leaving anyway, or just the form's fallen off a cliff. You sort of go, what can he do with that? You can't make a gourmet meal out of a tin of beans and a loaf of bread. So I understand that, but I still feel like coaching-wise, I've been a bit like, I expected a bit more. You know what I mean? Come on. We're just dropping points constantly. The football's awful. But Austria obviously fancy him. They looked at him and gone, listen, he's got a great record of everything he's done in the past. And maybe he's a better fit for international management because of the things I've mentioned already. Darren Cox says, every Dutch player linked at the moment. Does this mean United finally sign Wesley Sneijder? Do you know what? I used to blog back in the day, and the Wesley Sneijder to United story did the rounds for about a year. Honestly, it was unbelievable. It was just constantly, oh, we're going to get him. He's signed, it's all done, it's a done deal, and all the rest of it. And then in the end, obviously he didn't sign. So that was the Jadon Sancho story of its day. Tim Crampton says, "Hi J lad, can I ask where did you get your Parker from?" I don't know. It's a gift. It was a gift of my mummy. It was like a Christmas gift. I don't know. I'll find out if you get back to you. UTFR up there in Reds says, "This job has elevated Ralph. They're clearly not following instructions. Fergie couldn't motivate this lot. Move on." That man Dan says, "Dybala, Milankovic, Savic feels familiar. Who's turned on their DeLorean?" Yeah, Dybala I'm going to get to in a minute. Milankovic, Savic, we've been linked with as well. We were linked with him a few years ago as well. So it does seem like we're living in 2019 all over again, doesn't it? Someone else says, Conor Palmer says, "Imagine if Snyder did sign." Yeah, imagine that. Never put it past this club. Shall we have a look at some quotes from last night while we're on the subject of Ralph Rangnick? There's some quotes here. It says, well, obviously we know about the press conference for him to be announced as the Austrian manager. I mentioned that. Speaking last night, I think he was asked about the consultancy role, the United consultancy role, and he said it would leave space for another job, but that is what we agreed in November last year. So he's saying it already. Yes, I'm going to be staying as consultant, but it'll leave space for another job, which I understand. He also went on to talk about Erik Ten Hag. He said, "So far, me and Erik, haven't spoken, but I am more than happy and willing to help and change things for the better." And then talking about the Cristiano Ronaldo's future, he said it is Erik Ten Hag. It is Erik and also Cristiano's decision for what he can do next. But today, this performance was really great. Yep, it was really great, wasn't it? Rangnick says, "Not only the goal Cristiano scored, but his whole performance, his attitude at the age of 37. This is not normal to do that. If he plays like he did today, he can still be a big help to this team." So, you know, Roy Keane was weighing in on it. He said, on Ronaldo, he said, "He's such a big problem for United. Scoring goals week in, week out. It's not good." Obviously, a bit of Keano-kidology there. Even Thomas Tuchel weighed in. He said, "I think many players can look up to the quality, attitude and career of Ronaldo." Can't argue with that. I mean, Ronaldo, I think he scored, is it 9? I think, is it 8 of the last 9 goals we've scored of him? Something like that. I mean, you know, you can't point the finger at Ronaldo this season. I'm sorry. He just keeps banging in goals. And if you do, then look at some of his teammates anyway. If you're going to start blaming him, what are you blaming them for? They're doing nothing. You know, our attackers, the form's fallen off a cliff. None of them are scoring goals at all. I think, is it something like 10 games or whatever since an attacker scored a goal? Other than Ronaldo, obviously. I mean, it's poor. It's just... it's difficult. It's difficult to stomach. It's difficult to watch. It really is. And I can't wait for this season to end, to be honest with you. It's only going to get worse, isn't it, when the Scousers start, or the City or the Scousers win the league, and then probably one of them wins the Champions League as well. That's just going to be awful. O'Hanlon86 says, "No news yesterday. It was a long day without Jay. Thank you." Kevin Fitz says, "Rene needs to come in." Yeah, there was rumours, weren't there, Rene Merlinstein joining the coaching staff at Manchester United. I don't know what's happening there. Not had any updates as yet. If we do hear anything, obviously, we'll let you know straight away. Hit the like button as well, man. We've got like 500 people watching. Only 60 odd likes. Let's get to 200 likes. Hit that like button if you are watching. Foot Stories A1 says, "How about Angel Di Maria?" Yes. Hey, you never know with this club, do you? Anything can happen. I don't think that one will, though. Should we talk about Paulo Dybala? There's a story in the Express, and it says, Arsenal and Man United make Paulo Dybala contact and issue transfer request. And it says here, Dybala is out of contract at Juve at the end of the season. He is expected to leave on a free transfer after failing to agree a new deal. ESPN reports that Arsenal and United are two of the clubs that have shown an interest. So it looks like we're interested in Dybala. Now, Dybala has been linked with United for about 3 or 4 years? I remember we were heavily linked with him one summer, wasn't it? It looked like it was going to happen. It looked like we were almost there. And then it fell through. I think he had like astronomical wage demands, and the board are looking at it going, it felt a little bit like another Alexis Sanchez situation where he don't really want to come, but you offer him enough money, he'll do it. And also, he's sort of form, in terms of goals, tailed off a little bit, didn't he? He had that one season where I think it was 22 Serie A goals in 33 games, just banging him in for fun. Then it tailed off a little bit. A lot of that is obviously to do when Ronaldo arrived at the club as well. He's the main man. So you're no longer going through Dybala. It's all about Ronaldo. I mean, his goal scoring record is decent. It's not spectacular. I know he's not all, an out-and-out sort of striker. He can play as, almost around as an attacking midfielder at times. So it's harsh to just judge him on goals. I don't know with Dybala. I feel like this one, the ship sailed. I might be wrong. He's 28. It's not like he's past it. It says here, the 28-year-old striker is expected to leave Juventus when his existing contract expires. After the talks broke down on the ESPN article, it says ESPN has also been informed that unnamed clubs in Italy and Spain have sounded out Dybala's camp, with the player expected to assess his options in the coming weeks as the prospect of staying at Juve looks increasingly unlikely. Juve were thought to have offered Dybala a new deal worth around 160k a week after tax, but then sought to change the terms following the January arrival, even, of Dusan Vlahovic from Fiorentina. So maybe we are in for, maybe we're looking at go free transfer. That makes up for the money you're going to spend on his wages. We might have to do a bit of juggling in terms of what we're doing and what we're buying, because we know we need like about 8 players, don't we? We're not going to be able to get all them in on a budget. I know you might have a big budget in terms of, you've got 100 million, 150 million, or whatever, but the amount of players we're getting in, you're going to have to pick up some sort of bargains, in inverted commas, there. So we'll have to wait and see. I'm not hugely enthusiastic about that deal, I'll be honest with you. Andrew Smith says, Jay, do you think Fletcher going at the end of the season? I'm not sure. I think he might stay on. There was all these rumours coming out, stories about Darren Fletcher. Wanted to, like, Ralph Rangnick wasn't happy with how hands-on he is. He didn't understand why he's always in the dugout, why he's giving advice. Apparently, Ralph Rangnick sort of went back on that a little bit and said it's not that. He appreciates the work Darren Fletcher's doing. I think Ralph Rangnick prefers to take the lead during the games in terms of giving feedback and instructions to the players from the dugout. I don't have a problem with Darren Fletcher being at the club and staying around the coaching staff. Some people do, and I've seen a lot of people online criticising him, saying, Darren Fletcher. Darren Fletcher's always a player, gave his all for United. He knows United. He's done his badges, I presume. He came in as part of this new setup, didn't he, with John Murtaugh. I think sometimes we look at the wrong problems at United. We go, oh, that's the issue. Darren Fletcher in the dugout. It's not. The issues aren't Darren Fletcher or, what's going on. Obviously, you can prove coaching and stuff like that. Well, the issues are above him. We've had these issues with bankers making decisions, with a lack of structure, a lack of a strategy, non-footballing people making football decisions at Manchester United. So I don't have a problem with Darren Fletcher being involved. I have a problem with people who don't know anything about football making seminal decisions that affect the club. That's what I have a problem with. Jay and Joe's adopted son, Benjamin, says, Garnacho and Ronaldo are the only reason I'm still watching us. David Garner says, the United link to rumour mill in full swing. Can't see Ralph Rangnick, Ten Hag going after him. Good player, but been there before. Enough of the easy paydays. Yep. Fergal McClement says, Mata and Phil Jones playing last night, and now the Dybala link. Is it 2016? Any Snyder news? Yeah, it does feel like we're in a bit of a time warp, doesn't it? Hey, Jones and Mata on the pitch, Dybala being linked. It's all happening, isn't it? It does feel like it's 4 or 5 years ago or whatever. Yep, a little bit of a strange one. There's more United transfer rumours as well. Ruben Neves. Ruben Neves is another one who, he does the rounds, doesn't he? Hey? I'll tell you what, we had this last summer, didn't we? We've had it in January, we had it the summer before. It looks like he's constantly getting linked with United. And again, this is from ESPN. And it says, Wolves are preparing for life after Ruben Neves, after they have sounded out agents and contacts over replacements for the midfielder, sources told ESPN. Clubs have sent out wanted lists to top agents, and Wolves' list includes a replacement for their 25-year-old midfielder. United have been offered the option to bid for Neves, according to sources, but there is firm interest from clubs in La Liga and others in the Premier League as well. Where do you stand on Neves? Because I think he's a decent midfielder. He's all right. I've always thought he's pretty solid. He scored some good goals against us, but that I've never really thought he's that good, if I'm being honest. I've never thought he's a player that's a bit of a gem that someone's going to go in to the Wolves team and get, and he's going to help them win, titles in Champions League and stuff like that. I think he's a decent midfielder. I just don't know if he's at the very sort of top level. But is this where we're shopping now? Do we have to cut our cloth accordingly, similar to Dybala, and go, we can't go out and spend 100 million quid on Declan Rice. So we have to, aim a little bit lower than that. Where do you stand on it? What do you think about Ruben Neves? Do you think he is the missing link we need in midfield? For me, it feels like if we got Neves, we still need to get someone else. I feel like we could get him and he'd do a good job, but he'd need someone alongside him maybe to get hold of the ball and win it for him. I know he can put a tackle in, that's not his main attribute, is it? So I don't know. I just feel like it's one of those where it'd be a decent signing. I think we'd all get excited because it's a midfielder, and we know we're crying out for a midfielder. But I just feel maybe we can do a little better. Alan Munoz disagrees. He says he is a total gem, bro. Tom Boyne says Neves is a good player, but depends on the price. That's a good point. Darren Cox again another good point. Neves would improve the midfield, but not a world beater. DWM says Neves stats aren't much different to McTominay. I think what happens with United, I said this the other day on the Paddock Live. United are here, right? And we get linked with players who are here. And what happens is those players don't improve. United drop to a level where all of a sudden these players are good enough for us. And we go, actually, Neves would get in the team ahead of McTominay or whoever. Get him. He's an improvement. And I think it's not just about improving this current United team, because this current United team, if I'm being completely honest, is woeful. So I don't want players that are just better than woeful. I want players who can challenge the top teams, who can do something against the likes of City and Liverpool, not just are better than what we've got at the minute, because what we've got at the minute is massively underperforming. We're sat in the table wherever we are. Do you know what? I've stopped. Look, this is how bad it is. I stopped looking at the Premier League table now. I've not looked at the table for weeks. Genuinely, I know that's him. You know, you might go, Jay, how can you sit there and not know where we are on the table? I've had to just have another little search there with 6 mint. You know, we're sat there for a reason, and we want players that not just good enough to get us to 5th or 4th even, but can get us to where we need to be. So yes, Neves is probably an improvement. Yes, he probably does get in our team, but is he good enough for what we need? We've got to get these signings right in the summer, and I know we can't just go out and spend X amount of money on, you know, Harry Kane and Declan Rice. So we have to maybe we have to buy a different type of midfielder or a striker who's not as much as whatever. But I don't know with Neves, I'm a little bit underwhelmed. Let us know what you think. Broken Star says we should play the youth and add good young prospects. Don't want to see any big name signings, just good up and coming players. Danny Wharton says Sandro Tonali at Milan looks good too. Lee Elliott says need to buy or stop by big names and build a functioning team for a change. That's a good point. Duncan Edwards says if United got Frenkie, then I might get excited. Tom Greenwell said, who would whelm you, Jay? That is a good question. Who is it who we could get who you go, actually, I mean, I quite like the kid from Monaco, the one that we've been linked with, Aurelien Chouameni. I know he's been linked with Liverpool as well, hasn't he? Well, that tells you a lot, though, doesn't it? Like, they're flying and they're interested in him. He looks like a decent player. In terms of strikers, you look at someone like, obviously, Darwin Núñez is the one that keeps being mentioned for good reasons. He's absolutely banging in the goals in it for Benfica. Would he be a good option as another striker? Because we don't need a striker. Defenders. We've been linked with that kid out with the youngster. Is it Julian Timber, maybe? Anthony as well for a winger. We've been linked with him from Ajax. We've been linked with a lot of Ajax players or former Ajax players. I just feel there's players there that we can get, young players who are going to keep improving, who aren't going to cost you 70, 80, 90, 100 million. Maybe we just need to start looking about. Do you know what, as well? It'd be good if our scouting department actually did a bit of scouting, because Neves is a bit of an obvious one, isn't it? Just like Wan-Bissaka was, just like Harry Maguire was. We don't seem to scout anyone who's a bit, unheralded. You look at other teams, they do that. They do. It's easy to go, City just spend loads of money, and they do spend a lot of money. But they also get some players in for around 30, 40 million who are very good players. Liverpool spend money. They spent 75 million quid on Virgil van Dijk. But they also get players in who don't cost the world. Was it Andy Robertson for 8 million or whatever? They get the odd bargain, don't they? And I think that's the thing. United have stopped doing that. I can't remember last time we got a bargain. I can't remember last time we bought a player who was worth less than what we paid for, worth more than what we paid for. People going about Dan James, and I always say, Dan James. Leeds offered 4.5 million for Dan James in the January transfer window. We bought him in the summer for 15 million. It wasn't the bargain everyone made out to be. I know we sold him for a profit, but if that's the only one you've got, Dan James, that tells you its own story, doesn't it? I just feel like we don't tend to scout up-and-coming young players. Truly Genius said, people forget Mason would save Ollie too. Rangnick hasn't got such luxury. Massive player missing and have to play Elanga week in, week out. I'll read a statement. I'm just going to read this statement from This is from the police force round Mason Greenwood. No, he's not available. It says Mason Greenwood will remain on bail until mid-June over allegations he raped and assaulted a young woman. A four spokesman said this GSP. The suspect will remain on conditional bail until the date of the court hearing. So that's from nothing. That's from the BBC website. A few people asking in the chat about that. So that's the latest update. Obviously, if there's any developments, we'll give you that as it comes. Patrick Mulford says the last bargain was probably Ronnie. Don't forget as well. Well, he was, but wages and stuff. Sometimes you look at it and you go, okay, he didn't cost a lot in terms of, bringing him in. But it's the wages. Alexis Sanchez was just a swap for Mkhitaryan, but it cost a fortune in wages. Ronnie's on big wages. Now, I know he's working out, but TFOEMC says Vidic, I'd say. So he says Vidic was our last. Oh, G Sung says cheering 3. It's here's one for you. Luke Bloodwell says I'd take Romeo from Saints. He's always a player I don't like when we play against them. He's always a bit of a nasty git, isn't he? That's the story. Could he do a job at United? I don't know, or is he just another Neves? Just someone who's decent but not quite at the top tier. Can we have people clicking on the subscribe link, please? I put a link in the chat. Hit that subscribe button. We've got almost 1,000 people watching. I hope you're all subscribing to the channel. If you're not doing, subscribe. Also, hit like. Let's get to 200 likes. Blade X says Chicharito. Yeah, Wickerman also says the latest one was Chicharito. We used to get bargains. We used to get some right gems. 6-7 million. And this was back when that was still a lot of money. And now it just seems like we just go for the most obvious ones. We scouted apparently, was it 800 right backs or 1,000 right backs or something stupid, and bought the kid who was man of the match for Palace against us, and who was probably the most spoken about young right back in the country at the time, in Wan-Bissaka, and we also paid exactly what Crystal Palace wanted for him. In terms of Harry Maguire, we could have got him the year before for a lot less. We didn't. We waited and then spent exactly what Leicester City wanted, 80 million quid plus another 5 million in add-ons, I think. And we had a 2-week negotiation before we caved. It's not good business, is it? Even if you like Maguire and Wan-Bissaka, and I don't think there's many people, according to the chat and the comments I've seen, who are particularly fond of him at the minute. But even if you like them, we didn't get them for bargains. We paid a top whack for him. We're just not getting the bargains and the people that we can get a little bit under the radar. Samuel Jones makes a good point. He says, need Paul Mitchell to get bargains. JM says, this channel is so silent on Marcus Rashford, always walking on the pitch every game. Wonder why. I don't think we are, bro. I think a lot of people have commented on Marcus Rashford's just his lack of form, his performances this season, what is going on with him. People talking about, you're saying walking on the pitch. He just doesn't look like he's happy. He doesn't look great. And we were talking about this earlier, and it's just like, it's strange. This was a kid or a guy. I want to say kid, I don't mean he's a child. This is a player who, was it 21 goals last season, 22, whatever it was the season before. Decent numbers, was effective, even if his performances weren't always great, always gave you goals and assists, and now he just looks lost. Something needs to change. I don't know if it's going to change under a new manager. I hope it does, but he's just been a shadow of the player we saw. A few people questioning the Dybala thing. OS says the Dybala thing sounds a bit fishy. TFMOC says, get Daley Blind in at left back. Here's a good one for you. Andrewson Davies says, Jay, heard anything about DJ Spence from Forest? Is this the kid who's a United fan, isn't it? He was saying that he wanted to come to United, I think, not long ago. I think if I'm getting that right. He's had a good season for them. Could be available for a relatively a relatively low price in terms of modern football. It says here, available between 10 and 12 million. Would that be worth it? There's a few clubs in for him. It says United, Arsenal, Tottenham and City and Bayern Munich are all in the mix. That's the sort of risk you can take. A 10 to 12 million pound risk on a player who's not played at the top level but is young and does look like he's got a bright future. I don't mind that. If it doesn't work out, okay, you can take the hit. What I don't like is when you take the hit on a 50 million pound player. Sam Mercer says, Jay, we think we need to play the youth more. Trust in them. They have more character in comparison to the loaves we have currently. Yep. I agree. I think I'd like to see the youngsters playing for the rest of this season. I think we've not got many games left. For the Brentford game, maybe we can get them in. a few of them. I know the Garnacho came on last night for a cameo. He barely played, did he? It was about a minute. I don't think he touched the ball. Hannibal got a cameo against Liverpool. Maybe it is time to start giving them a start. We do have, obviously, the FA Youth Cup final coming up as well. We're playing against Nottingham Forest in that. That's the 11th of May. We will be covering that on the channel, so make sure as well you check it out. Also, I think we've sold about 30,000 tickets. If you are in the Manchester area, you get down. Great chance to go and see some of the, hopefully, the future stars of Manchester United. I'm going to the 2011 FA Youth Cup against Sheffield United, a certain Harry Maguire in the team then. It used to be over 2 legs. Now it's over 1 leg, and it's at Old Trafford. So you get, if you can get down there, great. If you can, obviously try and watch it online and just support the team wherever you can. Alex Bailey says, Jay, what's the banging noise in the background? I was hoping you wouldn't notice it, but obviously you have. It sounds like someone upstairs is just rebuilding the building. So I'm going to wrap it up there. Thanks to everyone who got involved in the chat. Make sure you are hitting subscribe. Let's get to 700,000 subscribers by the end of the season. With your support, your help, we can do it. We'll be back later on. We've got the preview for the Brentford game. The Brentford game's on Monday. We've got a Paddock podcast. No, we haven't. We've got the brew later on today as well. We've also got this weekend an interview coming out with Henry Winter from The Times. Great guy. Spoke to us all about Manchester United, about the Glazers, all that good stuff. So make sure you check it out as well. I've been Jay. This has been the Paper Talk from a noisy studio. Thanks for watching.